Hello friends, this is the third lecture of ancient Indian history, and in this lecture we are going to learn about Harappan Valley civilization or Indus Valley civilization. My approach will be top to bottom approach. I will start with civilization, then I will move on town level, and from town level I will move on inner town characteristic. In previous lectures we learned small scale civilization like uh, Acheulean civilization in Upper Paleolithic Age. But when we look on large scale on world on all over world, then historian list four major civilization as Mesopotamia civilization, Harappa or Indus Valley civilization, Egypt or Nile civilization, and Mayan civilization. And the and at world level, the Mesopotamia is first civilization of the world. It lasts from 3500 BC to 500 BC in the Iraq and Iran region along Euphrates and Tigris River. The second one is Harappa or Indus Valley civilization. It lasts from 3, 3300 BC to 1400 BC along Indus River in India and Pakistan. Third one is Egypt civilization or Nile River civilization. It lasts from 3100 BC to 100 BC along Nile River in Egypt. The fourth one is Maya civilization. It lasts from 2600 BC to 900 AD in Central American region. Among all these civilizations, Harappan civilization was more developed than the other contemporary civilizations. The use of burnt brick and cotton in Harappan civilization distinguish it from other civilization. Huh? As you can see, the time period of Mesopotamia civilization and Harappa civilization is almost almost contemporary. So Harappa had trade relationship with Mesopotamia. We found Harappan seal from Mesopotamia civilization, and in Mesopotamia text, um, they used to refer Harappan people as Melua. In this map, you can see the Mesopotamia civilization around Iran Iraq area and Indus Valley civilization around Gujarat area, India. Here you will find it was written Melhua for Indus Valley people. So the Indus people of Indus Valley used to trade with Mesopotamia culture from sea route, and there was two trading point between Indus Valley civilization and Mesopotamia civilization. First one is Megan, second one is Dilmun. So they used to stay at Megan and Dilmun. It was trading point of Indus Valley civilization. Now the question is how the Harappan civilization get discovered. In 1853, when rail link work was in progress, Alexander Cunning got few seals. He published the seals without knowing that it was part of ancient Indus Valley civilization. He got some seals he was and he thought it was seals from very old time, but he was not aware with the fact that that seals belongs to a civilization that was known as Indus Valley civilization. The discovery of Indus Valley civilization started around 1921 after the establishment of Archaeological Survey of India. In 1921, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were ex- excavated by different person. Harappa was excavated by Dayaram Sahni in 1921 and Mohenjo-daro was excavated by the R.D. Banerjee in 1921. And at that time, John Marshall was head of the Archaeological Survey of India. So both Dayaram Sahni and R.D. Banerjee excavated the site under the guidance of John Marshall. In 1931, Mohenjo-daro was excavated by Marshall. In 1938, Mohenjo-daro by Mackey. In 1940, Harappa by Watts, and in 1946, Harappa by Wheeler. And later on, more sites get excavated. After excavation of many sites, historians find a common connection among all the sites, that different sites have some common characteristics. So they called these all sites as Harappan civilization. What were the common characteristics we will see in this slide. In different sites we found proper town planning. The buildings, the the buildings were built using burnt brick with brick size of length, width, and height in ratio of 4 is to 2 is to 1. And in every site we found fortified citadel. Uh, we does not find any fortified citadel at Chanudaru only. And these Harappan people use standard weight and measurement across all the sites of Harappan Valley civilization. And at that time, black and red ware pottery were prevalent. The artifacts of Harappan Valley civilizations are seals. Seals were made up of statite, ivory, or terracotta, and statue at that time was made by terracotta and bronze. The You can see the image of seal on the right hand side. Here a humped bull was shown, and above humped bull you will find Indus Valley script. And in Harappan civilization, burial practice was prevalent, and the script of Harappan civilization was pictographic script or Bostophodon script, as shown in the right figure. uh, in the seal you will find Bostophodon script. In Bostophodon script we read from right to left, not from left to right. Uh, for example, you can see in this slide the heading Harappa civilization. In normal manner, we read Harappa, Harappa, Civilization civilization. But if it is written in Bostophodon script, then we will read it as Noitazilivic. So we will read from opposite direction if it were written in Bostophodon script. And in all the sites of Harappan Valley civilization, we don't find any temple or architecture, but we find some fire altars at Lothal and Kalibanga. So we found different sites, and at all sites we found urban nature. So scholars around the world agree on the urban nature of Harappa, but there is difference in opinion for the role of Saraswati River. And Saraswati was probably Hakra Gaggar River in Rajasthan area, and scholars have also different opinion regarding identity of Harappan people. So the historian divided the Harappan civilization into three different phases. Early phase from 3300 to 2600 BC, mature phase from 2600 to 1900 BC, and late Harappan phase from 1900 to 1400 BC. And Rahman Dairy was the earliest Harappan site, and it was the oldest town with plant road and houses. This site, Rahman Dairy, belongs to early Harappan phase. Around 1900 BC, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro was wiped out, but other sites of Harappan civilization survived till 40,000 BC. 14,000 BC, not 40, 14,000 BC. Here is the map of Harappa Valley civilization or Indus Valley civilization in mature phase, second phase. You can see different sites: Rakhigadi, Suktgendor, Balkot, Dholavira, Surkotara, Lothal, Ramanderi. So the extent of the Harappan Valley civilization from east to west is Suktgendor in western side, and Alamgirpur is on easternmost site of Harappan Valley civilization. Alamgir in Uttar Pradesh. The red dot shows the post post Harappan site after the mature Harappan phase, the third phase. So Alamgir and Daimabad are sites of third phase of Indus Valley civilization. The north to south extent of Harappan Valley civilization was Sortugai in Afghanistan to Daimabad, the southernmost site of Harappan Valley civilization. Daimabad is in Maharashtra, and the town planning of Harappan Valley civilization. The Harappan city were divided into two different parts. First one is fortified citadel. It was for ruling class, and the another one is lower town where other people used to live. The roads the roads and the houses were in the rectangular grid pattern in Harappan Valley civilization sites. And houses are on the either sides of the road, and no house door opens at the main road or main street. Houses opened only to inner courtyards or smaller lanes, not on main street. And we found well connected underground drainage system in Harappan Valley civilization. In the lower image, you can see the citadel, a upraised platform where a citadel is situated, and the lower town where normal Harappan people used to live. Harappan civilization sites. So the extent of Harappan Valley civilization is in India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and the largest site of Harappan Valley civilization is Rakhigadi in Haryana. It is followed by Mohenjo-daro in Pakistan. Sites in Harappan Valley sites in Afghanistan are Sortugai and Mundiga. Uh, Few we have seen common characteristic, but at few sites we found some different characteristics. So I listed those sites and correspondingly what are the different characteristics they have. So Harappa site along Ravi River in Pakistan. Here at all sites we find burial practice, but in Harappan, but only in Harappa we find burial in coffin. In Harappa site, people used to bury the dead were buried in wooded coffin. At Mohenjo-daro along Indus River in Pakistan, we found great bath of Mohenjo-daro at Citadel, and around it we found changing room. And in at Mohenjo-daro, post-cremation burial was prevalent, and cremation was mainly used at Mohenjo-daro. Chanu Daro along Indus River In Pakistan, it was industrial town. We found Bengal factory and bead making factory. This site is for artisans and workers. So we don't found. It is the only site where we don't find any fortified citadel. Kalibanga along Hakra River in Rajasthan, it was the most backward town of Indus Valley civilization. In this site, we found very less burnt brick. Instead, we find earthen brick in Kalibanga. In Kalibanga, we found we find fire altars and many houses had their own well in Kalibanga. Kalibanga, we had seen Kalibanga in last lecture, in last slide. And Lothal in Gujarat, it was the artificial dockyard site of Harappan Valley civilization from where trade was done through sea route. In Lothal, we found at all other site, houses door does not open at main road, but in Lothal we found house door at main road. And we also find fire altars in Lothal and couple were buried together in Lothal. In Banavli, Rajasthan, we found radial street. At all other side, we found rectangular grid pattern street, but in Banavli, Rajasthan, we found radial street, and we also found plug toy in Banavali, Rajasthan, but we don't find any plug from Harappan Valley side, actual plug from Harappan Valley side. We only get a toy that depicts plug. In Dholavira, Gujarat, it was fortified town with three sections. First one is fortified citadel, then middle town, then lower town. At this side, we found signboard with Indus script. Surkotada, Gujarat. Here, the pot burial practice remain. Pot burial practice prevalent. Here, after cremation, the remaining part of dead person was buried in pot, and we also found horse remain from Surkotra, Gujarat. We have seen civilization, we have seen towns, and we have seen towns with different characteristic. But to sustain a civilization, we need agriculture, trade, and many more surplus. So let's have a look on Harappa Valley civilization agriculture practices. Uh, so we don't find, as I said earlier, in Harappa Valley civilization, we don't find any hoe or plugs here, and because there was no hoe and plugs here, so sowing of seed was done in floodplains of Indus River, and they used to reap their harvest before next flood, and in next flood they used to sow new seeds. So the the work of plugging was done by river, the the river in their floodplains. But in Kalibanga, we found furrow field. In Kalibanga, we found furrow field, and this was probably done with the help of wooden plug. Because we don't found any plug, and probably wooden plug get destroyed over the time. And after they used to do agriculture, and these agriculture produce were get stored in granaries. Uh, the granaries we found great granary at Mohenjo-daro Citadel, and we found same size of granaries at Harappan Citadel, but we found it in 12 different sections. In You can see in the figure there are 6 row and 2 column. So in Harappan site, we found granaries that are divided into different room or chambers, so that when the agriculture produce of one room get get rotten, then it will not affect other room granaries, and they can they will be safe from the bad granaries. If agriculture produce of one room get rotten, then it will not affect other part of granary. But in Mohenjo-daro, we have a single granary of big size. But at Harappa, we have 12 chambers of granary. And Harappan civilization was the first civilization to produce cotton. Uh, The cotton cultivation was done around 5000 BC in Mahargarh, but at civilization level, Harappan civilization was the first civilization to produce cotton. The trade practices of Harappan civilization. The Harappan people used to trade within the Indus Valley sites and also outside the Indus Valley site, like they used to trade with Mesopotamia civilization, and the trading was done using barter system. We don't find any coin or anything from Harappan civilization, so trading was done probably with the help of barter system. Uh, what were the vehicle used for trading purpose? It was block cart and boats. The In the Harappan civilization, people use wheel of sol. They have only sol. The wheel of the block cart were of completely solid. You can see in the image on right side. We don't find any spoked wheel from Harappan Valley civilization. The spoked wheel started with Aryan culture. And the advantage of a spoked wheel is weight get reduced and we get more speed or uh, more speed and more efficiency in running block carts. Uh, the What were the trading commodity of Harappan civilization? So Harappan people have agriculture produce, and they have good technical knowledge, but they lack other raw materials. So they used to import raw material from different places, and they used to export finished good and agriculture produce. The Harappan people used to import silver from Iran and Afghanistan, tin from Afghanistan, copper from Khetri mine, Ganeshwar culture for Rajasthan. And the seals, Harappan seals were used to authorize the trade. Um, like uh, like at present, we have made in India, or we have some different brand like Adidas shoes and some other company shoes. So how you will know which company shoes is better? So at that time, seals were probably used to authorize the trade, or as they were used to show the brand that it was the commodity of Harappan people, and which this commodity belongs to which merchant of Harappan Valley. The Sortugai in Afghanistan was the northernmost trade point of Harappan Valley civilization, and here we find the mines of lapis lazuli, a stone, a metamorphic stone used for used for decoration, and it was mainly used for by ruling class of Harappan Valley civilization in decoration and other things. The artifacts of Harappan Valley civilization, we found black and red ware pottery with some design or human animal figure painted on it. The seals were of the seals were of square shape, and there are many seals, but one horn unicorn was predominant animal uh, on the seal. It, most of the seals were depicted by one horn unicorn. From Mohenjo-daro, we get dancing girl statue, and it was made up of bronze using lost waste technique. You can see the image of dancing girl on right hand side. From Mohenjo-daro, we also get bearded priest statue. It was made of fired statite. You can see this image. You can see the beard of the priest, and we also find Pasupati seal from Mohenjo-daro. It was made of statite. You can see the Pasupati seal on, on the right bottom right corner. You can see, and the a person sitting in a yogic the you can see that a person is seated, and he is doing probably he's doing meditation, and you will find in the seal that he has two horns and animals around this person. So it was called Pasupati seal, and sometimes a scholar connected with Lord Shiva. And we also find Mother Goddess terracotta figure from Mohenjo-daro. It was shown in the bottom. You can see Mother Goddess terracotta figure, and from Lothal we get a terracotta figure of horse. But the but Harappan people does not have proper knowledge of horse. The horse come with Aryan people, so but still in Harappan side we get terracotta figure of horse, and probably horse remains we get from Surkotra, Gujarat. How did the civilization came to end? So different scholars have different opinion. uh, Mike and John Marshall said it was came to end because of flooding, and Child and Wheeler said it came to end because of foreign invasion, and another scholar Fair Service said it came to end due to climate change or ecological disturbance. Among these, the most suitable is uh, the most suitable opinion is uh, opinion of Mike and John Marshall, that is flooding, because most of the Harappan site were excavated by different people, and before excavation they were underground, they were buried. And how the sites get buried, uh, a site get buried when it gets submerged, and when river gets silted, then a place get buried or get underground. So the underground nature of different site shows that it get destroyed because of flooding. The Child and Wheeler's opinion that of foreign invasion, it is based on that mm, at the time of Indus Valley civilization, it was very well civilized placed, and high the nature is very high, the nature of the civilization was very highly urban. So people uh, people around the Indus Valley civilization get attracted to Indus Valley sites. So Aryan also get attracted to Indus Valley site, and during the Harappan Valley civilization, many Aryan came to Indus Valley sites, but they come in very few number, um, and they did not attack. But as after Harappan Valley civilization, we found Vedic age. So based on this, Child and Wheeler concluded that Aryan invaded the Harappan civilization people, and because of that, Harappan civilization came to end. And Fair Fair Services has opinion that it was ended because of climate change or ecological disaster. So we can say yes, flooding is part of climate change. But Fair Services says other factor also involved in 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 making Harappan civilization in ending the Harappan Valley civilization. Now, how the Harappan Valley people were different from Rigvedic people? So here are some parameters that shows why Harappan people were different from Vedic people. In Harappan Valley civilization, we get burnt brick, but we did not get any burnt brick from early Vedic age. And also in Harappan Valley civilization, we have plant town, which was missing in early Vedic age. Both Harappan way and early Vedic age people were aware of the barley for the for aware of the agriculture produce barley, but when it come to wheat, sesame, peas, and rice, Harappan people were aware of this, but early Vedic age people were not aware with uh, with wheat, sesame, peas, and rice agriculture produce. Uh, for Harappan Valley civilization, horses were hardly known to Harappan Valley people. Only we get terracotta figure at Lothal and possibly some remains from Surkotoda. But Vedic people were aware of the horses. Uh, Harappan people know about tiger and rhinoceros, but early Vedic people have no idea about tiger and rhinoceros. The language of early Vedic people were Indo-Aryan, but the Harappan people was the language of Harappan people is still a mystery. And the life of Harappan civilization was settled one, whereas the life of early Vedic age people were pastoral in nature. So this is the end of Harappan civilization. But Before ending, let's have a look on pottery evolution. Around 4500 BC, we found pottery wheels, uh, and from 4500 BC, it was mainly plain pottery that exist at that time. From 2000 BC to 2200 AD, there were from 2000 BC to 200 AD, black and red ware pottery exist, and uh, at most of the Harappan Valley sites, we found black and red ware pottery. From 2000 to 1500 BC, 1500 BC, we found ochre colored pottery, and we say it belongs to Chalcolithic age at Ganga Yamuna Doab and at some other places. From 1200 to 600 BC, we get painted grey ware pottery, and it was Middle Vedic age pottery or Iron Age pottery. From 700 to 2000 BC, the northern black polished ware were prevalent pottery, and it belongs to Mahajanpat period. The northern black polish ware pottery belongs to Mahajanpat period. So I will end our lecture here. The- So I will end the lecture here. Thank you.